Right, hello everybody. So another live feed for you today. I know what I'm like. Well, it gets a bit quiet when you work by yourself. You know what it's like, I'm sure. So what I'm working on, as you can see, is a little wren at the moment. Just trying to get some of the darker areas, especially underneath the legs here. Well, I call them shorts, all these areas. It's like a little wren's, little bird's shorts. But I want to get a little bit darker in places. So I'm kind of looking at the reference photo. I'm thinking about where it's darker and where it's lighter, which is usually just around there. So what I'm going to show you today, over probably about 25 minutes to half an hour, something like that, I'm going to be working on the legs for this little wren. So all the way down the legs, all the little details, the creases within these legs and the feet as well, and then adding a bit of detail to the wood just below. I've only put like a suggestion of wood today, just down below, just so it's got something to kind of stand on, you know. Otherwise it looks like it's kind of floating in midair. So that's what I'm working on. So if you've got any comments you want to ask me, then you're more than welcome to. Hello there. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm trying to work. Give a towel. Hello, nice to see you. Thank you very much indeed for coming on board. So yeah, so that's what I'm working on, to kind of work on the ideas and how things go. So looking at the darks and the lights within the wren and trying to kind of, you know, work out as I go along. I'm just going to go back to my editor a minute, and what I want to show you is a reference photo. So the photograph is this one, and this is by a fantastic photographer called Mandy West. Now Mandy West does have a Flickr page. I'll put it in the comments down below later on after the video is finished. And she's a very clever photographer. So thank you, Mandy, for your excellent photograph, which you give me permission to use. It's very good of you. So I'll just turn that one off now so you can see what I'm doing. So yeah, that's Mandy West that's provided that. So she's a very clever lady. So thank you, Mandy. Right, okay, so here we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a quick look on my YouTube channel just to make sure that I can see what you're seeing. And while I'm doing that, I'll add in just a few little more darks while the page is loading up for me. It's quite dark around the back here as well, it's just saying that. So it's a few more just around there. Now wrens are beautiful little birds, they really are. And the birds which I like to kind of watch, and also Joe and I, my partner Joe and I, we do find wren nests around where we live. And the wren nests are very nice, very tiny little nests made from moss, kind of finished off with some very fine feathers on the inside very often. Now the male will normally probably make, I'm trying to think, 2 or 3 nests to try and track Mrs. Wren towards a nest. And you always know, well, so you always know, you sometimes know which one it is because it's usually the one that's got the fine lining inside, the one that she's chosen. So basically she's got to make 3 homes and then she chooses one of them. How nice is that? Okay. And yeah, so we found a few wrens over the years. Very nice little birds, they really are. Now what I'm working on, as I said, I've just been working on the darks around the back of the bird, just underneath here. Now I just need to add a little bit more colour in there before going to the legs itself. Now I want a little bit of, going to go for a little bit of burnt sienna and just a little bit of burnt umber in there as well. Right, so as I'm going to work on, I want this like a creamy consistency in there. And I'm going to add that in, just a few here and there. Just to add those in. I want to try and intensify the colour, just make it a little bit brighter in colour around here. Well, these little areas, these little marks are within the wren. Very tiny bird though, very tiny bird. And just a few more around there. I'm also thinking about the shape as well. Where the belly comes around, a little bit darker underneath. When you try and show that curvature, that form within the chest, within the belly. It's actually quite dark in places there as well. There are a few little dark marks just under here. And I think we're about there for now on the main wren. But then we've got to work on those little legs and the claws as well, and a little bit of woodwork as well, hopefully if we get enough time. Right, so let's get on with the legs now. So, okay, bare legs. Here we go. I've already put a wash of alizarin crimson and scarlet lake with just a touch of burnt umber in there at the same time. Now I need to do the same thing again. So I'm going to go for alizarin crimson, scarlet lake and burnt umber, but this time what I want to do is have it to more of a creamy consistency. Now I can see this actually goes around. If my hand gets in the way, I do apologise. That goes around there on the photograph. This will need to go much darker, by the way. Now I think as with watercolours as well, is that you've got to work from light to dark. You gradually get darker as you go along, unless you're adding watercolour white over the top, which I've done in places here, which I'll do on here at the same time. That will go on there later on. I'm looking at all these little sections within the leg as well. So some very tiny little sections. If you are commenting, by the way, I will check the comments shortly. We're going to do it every 5 minutes, so I'll have a quick look at the comments. And you can see all the little sections as well around the front of the leg, right at the end of the leg here, before it goes to the foot itself. But I don't want to outline it. I don't want to put a dark line on both sides of this leg, otherwise it will look too cartoony as well. I don't want to do that. So it's all about picking out these tiny little areas using my 00 brush. Again, as fine as you can. Taking your time, keep looking at the photograph. The thing is as well, if you don't keep looking at that photograph, is that you tend to make things up. You know what I mean? You start to imagine what it might look like. So you must keep looking at the photograph. If you want to make a realistic impression, more illustrative, that kind of thing, with the paintings that you do, you must keep looking at that photograph. You know, I'm always doing that as I'm kind of painting away here. I've got a tablet in front of me. It's not paracetamol, no, not that kind of tablet. It's a tablet. And I know I'm daft. And on there I've got a very large photograph, let's say by Mandy West, and it's very large. That's why I always need a large photo, because I can zoom into it. I can really zoom into those little details and see all these extra little details within the leg here. So that's what I'm looking at, okay? Wendy, hello Wendy. Thank you very much indeed. So I'm going to add a bit more just around to the top of this leg. Even though the light is towards the top of the leg, it's actually redder, is that the right word? Just to the top here. And we need to get some burnt sienna in there, I think, as well. Because again, on the photograph, there's a little bit of burnt sienna in there. And just a little bit down here. As I say, it's all about building up the layers as you go along. And the more layers that you put on, gradually, take your time, there's never any rush, you should never rush a painting. Then eventually, with all the layers, they'll start to come together. As long as you put them in the right place, of course. That's so important, I know. So a few more around there. So this is getting gradually darker because I'm building it up with the same colour. That's the beauty about it. When you're using a paint like this one here, look, this is the one I'm using. So this is, say, alizarin crimson, scarlet lake and burnt umber. So like a creamy consistency, okay? So what I tend to do, I tend to load it, I roll it up the side of the well. This is ceramic, by the way. Then I'll dab it onto a little bit of tissue. Just take off any residual paint before I go into the painting. So if you remember, just these 3 words which I tend to say to people now: load it, roll it, dab it. Okay, so load it, roll it and dab it. That way you can maintain a nice little tiny point, as you can see on my brush here, without it being overloaded with paint. Now the thing with paint as well is consistency. A lot of people say to me, well, how do you know what consistency to use? I mean, the way of looking at it is that when you first start off with anything like this, look at, for example, the branch. That's just a couple of colours, well, 3 colours in there, just a basic wash. And the consistency of paint for that was just simply kind of watery. So there's more water than colour, really, is the way you want to say it. So more water than colour. You start off in that way. Then as you go along, you gradually build up those details as you go along by making the paint a little bit thicker, add more pigment to the paint, add more pigment to the water, Less water, more colour basically. Then you gradually build up as you go along by doing that. Okay, so I'm going to lightly soften this claw down now. Just using a damp clean brush, too much water on there, so I'm going to just pull that water off. I've just tapped it on some tissue paper just once. I tend to use kitchen roll, by the way, which is my preferred paper. Some people use old towels, but kitchen roll for me does a job, and that's all I really need to use. Right, so I'm going around the back of this leg now. I'm going to, again, think there's a bit of a central line just coming down the leg of this bird. And just down the back of there. Now, Wrens in the UK here, which is, also the European Wren, tend to be, from what I understand, they tend to be a little bit smaller and slightly different than the ones in America. So if you guys have got the Wrens over there, then yours are a little bit bigger than ours. And I think some of the eye markings, like the supercilium, just the eye stripe here, tends to be a little bit different as well. So just bear that in mind when you look at the Wrens, especially the Carolina Wren as well, which is quite a nice one to paint. I did paint that one as well not long ago, if you remember. If you've been watching my videos, you would have seen that one on there. Now, okay, I did say I want to go for a little bit of kind of raw sienna. Yeah, I think raw sienna will do the trick. So this is a raw sienna in question, so let's bring my brush into there a minute. I'm going to wet it down with a clean, wet brush. Wash that brush off and come back in. And I'm going to pick some of that up. So load it, roll it. I'm going to dab it on some tissue off camera here. And I'm going to add in, where's my photo? Just a little bit, just around here. This will help blend some of the paint together as well, some of the red. Just a little bit. Now, so if you remember, if you've got any comments you want to ask me, then please ask away while I'm online. You can ask me. Or if you're watching this on catch up, don't worry, you can always ask me on catch up as well, because I do get notifications from YouTube, and I'll put this on Facebook as well. So I do get notifications from both platforms. So I will see your questions eventually. I will see your questions, and I will obviously do my best to answer for you. So bear that in mind as well, okay? So we'll be around. Right, so I've done a little bit more. I don't want too much in there because it's got to be fairly light in places. Okay, so far, that's what we've got. I'm now going to go for a little bit of burnt umber and lamp black, and I want this to like a creamy consistency. So all it's going to be, let's have a quick look on my palette here. So I've got lamp black and burnt umber there. Now that is really thick. That's very creamy. So I want this so I can just paint a line without it breaking. That's quite dark, isn't it? I might have a little bit more brown to that as well. So I'm going to add a little bit more brown. In fact, see what I'll do. Let's go a little bit lighter first. So that's the lighter version there. So lamp black and burnt umber. Turn my palette around so I can see what I want. I always have my palette a particular way around, by the way, as well. So I tend to have it in a particular format, so I know where it is. So it's rotated in a particular way. Because when I put my paints into the palette, and I do use quite a lot of the same colours on most of the paintings, believe it or not, I know exactly where I'm going to go for that colour I need next. Now I'm just adding this down the side here first. I'm going to give my brush a quick wash out, as you can hear, and then come back in with a damp clean brush. I'm going to wet away from that area and then tickle that in little tiny circles. Little tiny circles just to soften that very inner edge of this dark line. Just to bring it together a little bit more. I want to try and show that form, that shape within this leg. It's got very shapely legs, this this little bird, it really has. And I'm going to darken just a little bit more around there, I think, as well. Just a little bit more. And to there as well. Okay, add some more to the shorts, I think, as well. And that will probably just about do for that back leg there. Right. Now remember tomorrow, i.e. Wednesday, which will be Wednesday the 19th. No, Wednesday the 20th. I'm getting the wrong day here, look. So you probably work by yourself during the daytime, you lose track of time. Wednesday the 19th, Wednesday the 20th, I said it again. I'll be on Facebook Live during the evening. Now the evening being UK time at 6:30. So we have to work out what that is in your time zone if you're not in the UK. So I'll be on here again on Facebook, though, as I say, live tomorrow night. And I'll be doing something a little bit different. So this Wren is nearly finished now, so I will get this done either today or tomorrow. And I'll start on something new, or even a little bit of paint testing, working on colours, working on mixes, that kind of thing as well. So if you fancy learning a little bit about how to kind of test your colours out and make yourself a little colour chart or colour swatch and see what your colours do within your palette, then we can do that tomorrow on Facebook if need be. We'll just see how the day goes, okay? And see what I'm working on at the time. So I'm working on this today, so that's what I'm showing you now. Now I'm just trying to think about, this is like a mid-tone now, using that browny black colour. Thinking about the darkest areas, even though I need to go darker, obviously it's a little bit too pale at the moment. Just where it's going to get darker. Thinking about these little sections within the legs and the feet, or the leg and feet, just to there. Oh, I think we've got the helicopter going across the top of the runway. I'm very rural North Devon here, if anybody needs to know. And we've got the Devon Air Ambulance not far based from here, and because of that we do very often get it go over the top of the house, so it's quite loud. Now I'm looking at the little creases here. You can see me using the very tip of the brush, just adding those in. I've not reloaded yet, but I'm going to in a minute. Sometimes it's actually worthwhile making use of the brush when it's not a lot of paint on there, because you can then get the finest of marks by using a nearly dry brush. So bear that in mind. So when you're about to reload your brush, think, hang on a minute, I think I can use that elsewhere. So where you don't need quite as much detail like around here, now this brush is just about dry, I can add in the finest of details just by lightly tapping, very lightly tapping, to create texture within this little leg. Just there. Okay? So that's that one. And then I'm going to work down the claw. Now again, even though the lightest point is actually on the side of this claw, I'm going to put a line here first, just like we did before. Just a line there. Put a little line down there. Give your brush a wash out. We'll come back in, but lightly soften that down. Remember, a line of water away. And very lightly tickle that line, little tiny circle motions. Watch out for any runs on your brush, by the way, just wipe it off. Otherwise that blobs onto your painting and you'll probably scream. I do, like a little girly. Off camera. No, I don't, obviously. Don't tell anybody. Shh. Okay, so that's that little area there. Now what I want to do, I'm going to add a little bit more of the same colour. Just the centre. I want it to blend a little bit because it's still damp. Of that claw. And now then, let's go for the darkest of colour for the legs. So let's have a quick look how long I've been on for, just before we go for the next colour. Just to make sure, been on for 18 minutes, so I don't think we get all the branch done. We'll get some of it done anyway. I'll show you the technique which I use for the woodwork as well. Just give you some ideas on how I tend to work. Now remember, if you do want to paint something, one of my video tutorials, which I've got on Patreon, have a look down the bottom of the screen down there. So patreon.com/thedevonartist, and on there, there's a complete free robin video. So if you fancy painting a robin in watercolour, in detail as well, there's no signing up, there's no emails exchanged, no nothing, okay? No nothing. So you get complete access to that with the full photo. So you got the photograph and also the outline drawing as well. So if you want to use my drawing, then you're welcome to as well. Just so you can get on there and have a go at painting a robin in watercolour. It's all for you to have a go at for free, okay? A little freebie from me, just to you. I want everybody else as well, obviously. So you can have a play with that. So pop onto my Patreon channel down below and have a look at it. See what you think. And you're welcome as well, if you want to, is to post on Facebook. Facebook is just type in The Devon Artist and you find me through there. And I'd love to see any paintings that you do for my tutorials as well, so it'd be very kind of you if you do. Right, so I'm just kind of thinking about, it's going to be dark underneath here, isn't it? Well, we've got the wood. See how this is all coming together now gradually, because I'm adding the darker marks now. So this is still the same colour, it's that burnt umber and lamp black, but now it's more of a creamy consistency. That's your difference. So that's why it's looking much more contrasted now. We're getting the shapes, we're getting the forms within the leg and the foot, and the claw, and the toe. Yes, I know. I did call them talons once actually, because I said, oh look, let's do the talons, but that's birds of prey, Paul. I should know. I do like doing my birds. I've been painting birds for many years. And dogs and cats. Not painted an ant yet. I'll have to paint an ant one day. If you've got any suggestions, please let me know. Post it below. Okay, so down the side. Now that is nearly it for the leg, believe it or not, other than a little bit of highlights in places. So again, if you've got any questions you want to ask, please fire away. Anything about watercolours. Well, I'm going to just drink my coffee just for 1 second. Hang on a minute. Okay. Oh, that's better. I've got one of these mugs that stay hot for longer. So I've got a little bit dark around there. Just a few more in. Just underneath the belly. Around the shorts. And I'll tell you what I do need to do actually. I'm going to lift off some paint as well. So this is a lifting off technique. I've shown you this before in one of my, well, more than one video. It's about just going over the same line time and time again and then lifting. Now you can see I've already made a little mark there. If you take too much off, don't worry, you can always add more over the top. Just let it dry off a little bit before you do so there. This is a good way of creating highlights within a dark area. And it also depends on the paint as well, because some paint that you find in watercolour is a little bit more staining and harder to remove. So a few more, I will do. Well, some of the paints are easier to take off. So just playing with the paints that you've got and see how they all work. And that's the idea about watercolours, just play, have fun with it. Okay, now when you look at my tissue, you can just about see the marks are pulled off here on the tissue paper. So that's how much I've taken off so far. And again, as I say, I can, if I want to, just go over the top again with some colour if it's too light. Or I can just very lightly just merge it together, just a touch, just soften it down. And that picks up the colour from around it and moves it over the top. And there you go. That was easy, wasn't it? Yeah, of course it was. Not difficult, is it? No. Okay. And that one there. Now, I'm using, as I said, a Cotman 00. So this is a Cotman Series 111. Try and get the right way around for the camera. I don't know if you'll be able to see this on the camera. So it's a Winsor & Newton Cotman Series 111. It's a round, okay? And it's a size 00. So these are not expensive brushes. These are sable, not sable, these are synthetic in the bristle. And I think this particular one cost me about £3.50, I think. So it's not expensive. And this is a brush I use for all my detail work. But I do have other brushes as well, which has been one that's been recommended by somebody on here as well. So thank you very much. Without looking up your name, I've forgotten. But I've got some other ones I bought from Rosemary & Co. I want to test out as well and try those out. So I do like to try different brushes out, but the problem is you get so used to using the same ones, don't you? It's your tried and tested method. You know it works for you, so you think, I don't really want to change. But sometimes it's worth just trying different ideas out. The same applies to papers as well. When you look at the paper I use, this particular paper is Bockingford. Okay, so it says Bockingford, £140, 300 GSM. So it's a £140 Bockingford paper. And it's of a medium texture, so basically it's a knot paper, capitalised N-O-T, which basically means it's not hot pressed. If it's a hot pressed paper or HP, then obviously it's gone through hot rollers to make it nice and kind of very smooth. So it's got like a very fine, medium sort of texture really, which is why I tend to use it, and I've used it for many years now, Bockingford. I should really try other papers out. I've got a Saunders Waterford one I do want to play with and try that one as well. Okay, So that'll do for that. I just thought I'd just touch that up while I'm talking to you. And I think we need to go for a few highlights on the leg. And for the highlights, what I'm going to do is use a little bit of watercolour white. Now the watercolour white I use is this one here. Now this is by SAA. You've got a bit of colour in there. I don't mind. That's fine. This one's by SAA and it's an opaque white. I want this to like a creamy consistency, so I'm going to just roll the brush. Hopefully you can see this on camera. Roll the brush. Remember, load it, roll it, and then dab it on some tissue, just the once. Just take off a little bit of residual paint. Now with this I can add in these very light highlights. Just thinking about where it is on the photograph. I don't want it too bright, but the thing with watercolour white, you can tone it down as well. Now you can see I'm just touching these in. I don't want to overdo it because I don't want to cover all that colour up underneath. I'm trying to see where the raised areas are on the leg itself, and I can just see a few more around there. I've got about 10 minutes left if you're interested. Okay, so anything you want to ask away, please do. A few more down there. Now these are tiny little marks. Trying to see where the light hits the leg as well. When you look at the photograph, I'll just bring it back in for you and just see the reference photo, which is that one there. You can see what I mean by there's a lot of light marks on the feet itself, and that's what I'm looking at kind of replicating while I do this. So that's the idea behind it. So sorry about shaking the camera every now and then. Got my lead in the way here. Now I want to go a little bit creamier on this white because I really want it to kind of zing and sparkle in places. Just a few here and there. And probably, oh yeah, there's a few around there as well. Barely touching the paper. 2 hairs in there is all I'm using. Keep it nice and fine, nice and light. Just a few. Hopefully you can see all this on the screen just about. Yeah, I think you can. And a few more around there. And to here. Well, I'm thinking about the claw as well. I want to just a highlight on the claw. You just see I'm just putting a little bit of a line down there. But I want this line to fade. Put a little bit more on the inside, so we've got that mark in between. So if I give that brush a quick wash out a minute, I'm going to very lightly go over that white. Now the thing with watercolour white as well, it can disappear very, very quickly. It really can. And if you're not careful, it will turn to mud. I'm going to get a little bit of that red colour in a minute, just add a little bit of that in there. That's better, that's what I wanted. And just fine tune the very edge. And my brush is nearly dry here. Just fine tune the very edge of that. Then very lightly tickle that together again. And there we go. Okay. Right, so that's that. So the next bit I want to do is add a little bit more white to the other leg, and I'm going to work a little bit of woodwork in, just to kind of give a suggestion of wood. And I'll show you what I do with that. Just a few little hints here and there, and that is, I dare say it, for the legs and the feet. As quick as that. Didn't take too long, did it? A few more around there. Right. Okay, for the wood itself. Now, working on wood is the beauty about wood as well is that it doesn't matter if you don't do it exactly as a photograph. It doesn't matter because every piece of wood is going to be different, isn't it? You know, you look at a piece of wood on a branch or a tree or anywhere, the grain's going to always vary. So it doesn't really matter if it's not spot on. So that's the beauty of it. Now I'm going to do a few little lines on here first. I've only got a couple of minutes or so before I need to go. So I've been on for nearly half an hour now. I'm going to switch to my size 1 brush, which is actually a sable one, but again, they're not expensive. This particular one isn't expensive. And I go for a little bit of raw sienna with just a hint of burnt umber in there. Now, all I want to do, oh sorry, that's something different, isn't it? Is add this colour in. I'm going to add a little bit of sap green in there at the same time. And I'm thinking about the direction that the grain goes within this wood. Now you've noticed I always have a piece of paper underneath my hand. So we've all got natural oils on our hands, and when the side of your hand goes on the paper, it can act like a wax resist, and you don't want to have any problems with the paint not sinking into the paper because you've had your hand there. Right, so bear that in mind when you're painting. Now this brush is nearly dry, as you can see, so I'm trying to create the texture there at the same time. Thing about wood as well is that you can create whatever texture you want. You can splatter it with paint. Make sure you cover everywhere else up first, so if you start splattering paint everywhere. By using light splatter marks, that will give you a nice textured feel to the branch. You can vary the colours, you can have it brown, you can have it like a greeny coloured branch if you want to. All variety of colours really. These lines I'm doing in the direction that the branch is going. I'm thinking about jumping around with my hand. Use a shaky hand, okay? That's one of the things I very often say to my patrons on Patreon. Is that use a shaky hand, because that way I know what you're going to say. I've got a shaky hand anyway. So have I sometimes, believe it or not. So use a shaky hand, and by doing so you get the thicker and thinner lines like that. And that's how you're going to start building up this texture within the wood. So barely touching the paper, shaky hand here and there. And I'm going to bring this out probably to about here. Run out of paint, I know. Probably to about there. And maybe just a few suggestions to the very outer edge of where this branch starts on my paper. Okay, and then down to about here. So that's just one colour. As quick as that, that's just one colour. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go for a little bit of burnt umber and burnt sienna, which is this one here. So burnt umber and burnt sienna, using the size 1 for now. I could switch to my 00 if need be, but just use the size 1. Have a quick look at questions. Wendy, hello Wendy Allison Barnes. I'm sorry I missed a minute. Is the white a gouache? No, it's not, Wendy. It's actually a watercolour white. It's the one I'm using at the moment. Now the watercolour white, before I start painting that a minute, is actually this one. You'll laugh at my tube, honestly. The tube, it's quite old now. Look at that. Look, I know. It's SAA and it's opaque white is the one I use. There's a variety of different ones on the market, but when you look for white, by the way, I always tell my patrons is have a look at the back or the instructions on the internet, whatever it is. Look for opaque, okay? Permanence is quite good on this. It's quite a permanent paint, but look for opaque. So the opaqueness really is how it will cover the paint underneath. That's so important, because some watercolour whites tend to be semi-opaque or semi-transparent, which means that they don't cover very well. I mean, you still need to have it to a creamy consistency to cover the paper with an opaque white. But if it's a semi-opaque, it's hard work. It really is hard work trying to get those highlights, especially if you're working like a highlight in the middle of the eye there, which I put in with that SAA opaque white. Another good one I'd recommend for watercolour whites is Winsor & Newton. That's a good one, and that's a professional Winsor & Newton. Trying to think which one. I don't know if it's zinc white or titanium white. Can't remember the name of it now. I've got one here, but I have to dig it out. So that's a good one as well. Look for the Winsor & Newton one, and that one is, as I say, opaque and not semi-opaque. Okay, so there you go. Hope that answers your question for you before I shoot off, because I'm gonna have to go in a minute. I know I am. Time's ticking away here. Now remember, before I leave, if you do want to go on Facebook tomorrow, if you've got a Facebook account and you've got the time and you are around, tomorrow evening, 6:30 UK time though, bear in mind, I will be online, or around 6:30 could be, hopefully. Didn't work last week, because I know Facebook had issues, didn't they? So I couldn't go live. I did try to go live, but set the camera up and everything else, but it just didn't work. So it wouldn't let me do it. So hopefully tomorrow night I should be live at 6:30 on Facebook, UK time. And I'll be doing something a little bit different, okay? Now, a little bit of a sale bit, so get ready for this. Remember that on my Patreon channel down there, patreon.com, I do have the free Robin video tutorial for you to have a go at. You know, there's no signing up, no emails, no nothing, so remember that. I said it earlier on during this live feed. But it's for you to have a play with, just to have a go and see how we get on with the techniques which I've been using for, oh dear, how long have I been painting now? Now, my 50th birthday was last month, Yes, I know. I don't look it, but then you can't see me at the moment. My 50th birthday was last month, and I started painting when I was 11 years old. Okay, I've been painting ever since. So I'll give you some ideas how many years I've been painting for. And I've always enjoyed painting wildlife. So that's what you get if you pop onto Patreon. You get my, well, nearly 40 years worth of experience working with watercolours and painting wildlife, okay? So pop along, have a look anyway. So, before I go, I'm going to give you a question of the day. Well, hang on. I didn't know there's such a thing. Thank you. That's not a problem, Wendy. You're more than welcome. Question of the day I'd like to know from you is, what is your favourite brush? Now, my favourite brush, as I'm sure you all realise, is this Winsor Newton Cotman. I don't get paid by them, by the way. Winsor Newton Cotman Series 111 00 is the size. That's my favourite brush. Second in line will be my Rosemary & Co. So Rosemary & Co. I can't say it. Here, I have to talk really posh now. The Series 93, and it's a size 1. Okay, have you all got that? Yes. So that's that one there. And that's one I've been using to put this basic detail on the branch. I've got to put more layers on this off camera, by the way, just to kind of give you some ideas. So what is your favourite brush? Let me know and put it in the comments down below. Now, please remember to like, subscribe and share this video, because I'd love for other people to kind of see this. And when you do that and other people do see it, it gives me more encouragement to kind of do more live feeds for you. So, until next time around, I'm going to say goodbye now. And remember to put any questions down below for me, because I don't mind at all. You're more than welcome to. I'll see you all again very, very soon. So until then, bye-bye for now. Right, that's another video tutorial done for you. Now this time around we're going to be working on a tabby cat. I'll just show you the painting. I've been asked quite a few times now about how to paint wood. And there's different types of wood. Obviously you've got the bark on a tree, you've got this kind of wood here, such as floorboards, and the wooden structure on the top and the left hand side as well. But we're going to be doing this, we'll approach this by doing wet in wet techniques, scumbling, stippling, washing over the top, lifting off details as well, and adding the finer details on to get all this texture within the wood itself. Now once we've done that, we're going to be working on the eyes of the cat. Now the eyes, we've got to have so much life in there. So I'm going to go right through from the start, right to the very end of how to paint a very detailed cat's eye. Now once we've done that, then we're going to start working on the fur. So let's make a start on this little tabby cat, and let's get them brushes wet. So come and join me on Patreon and let's paint this cute tabby cat together.